NTUC will seek more Singaporeans' views when it comes to making policies in future.
Many of the discussion up till now, we've kept it internally within the labour movement and among the tripartite partners. And as a result, many Singaporeans, they may know our manpower policy, but they do not know why, how this policy come about. So therefore, I think it's useful for us to open up more so that they can understand better the process, the considerations, and at the same time to contribute their ideas to participate.
This was part of the changes to NTUC that NTUC Secretary General Lim Swee announced on Wednesday. Mr. Lim explained that NTUC is changing its approach in order to help Singaporeans attain better employment.
If you look at the Singapore today, in terms of job creation, we've done much better than other countries. So as a result, even though there are high unemployment out there in USA, in Europe, in many parts of the world, in Singapore we have full employment. Given the full employment situation, I think it's only natural that the Singaporeans expect that more can be done to enable them to take on the better employment in Singapore. So in other words, for the low-wage workers, they want to have higher wages. For the PMAT, they want to have a better, faster career advancement and so on. And I think this is only natural, and this is something that the labour movement we recognise and we accept. And in fact, our intention is that we intend to reshape the labour movement together with our tripartite partners in various areas.
The changes to NTUC will be on 3 levels. 1, to shift from being pro-business to being more pro-worker. 2, to generate debate and have wider engagement with businesses, the labour force and the public on new policies. 3, to quicken the pace of policy implementation.
So for example, we intend to adjust the balancing point between pro-business and pro-worker. So in other words, do more to enable Singaporeans to take on some of the better jobs that's available in the economy. Secondly is to really up the tone of tripartism. And last but not least is to quicken the pace of our HR, our manpower policies implementation, because up till now, we've been counting on the unionized sector to take the lead. Obviously, we'll continue that, but we think that would be also useful if we can somehow find new ways for the non-unionized sectors, companies, to likewise be early adopters of some of this policy. So I would say that on the whole, we want Singapore to continue to be among the first in the world of global competition, and yet at the same time, we hear the voice of the Singaporeans in wanting to be given the better access to better employment in Singapore. This will, of course, only get tougher with stronger competition, with higher expectation, but as a labour movement, together with tripartite partners, we are committed. No matter how tough it is, we are committed to do better, do more, to ensure that not only we can have a full employment, hopefully for some time to come, but yet at the same time, better employment for all Singaporeans.
Mr. Lim also suggested ways in which the NTUC could help Singaporeans land better jobs.
There are many ideas being thrown up. So, for example, in the case of the lower wage workers, one of the key concerns obviously is that the companies are not doing enough to improve their skill, to improve their productivity. So, there are suggestions from some unions that why don't we find a way to tie this foreign manpower, foreign workers' availability to the commitment of the companies in enhancing productivity. So in other words, if a company were to do more to improve productivity, then they will have greater access to foreign workers. In some cases, some unions suggested that since many of our older workers, once they leave the workplace, they're having difficulty to find jobs again, to come back again. So some unions suggested, why don't we tie this foreign worker quota again to the employment of mature workers. So in some cases, some unions suggested that now in the PMAT area, so to avoid a situation whereby certain industries or within certain companies that they are overly dominated by foreign PMAT. So some unions suggested, why don't we introduce the concept of a dependency ceiling for PMAT. So these are the ideas that are being generated among the unions, among the union leaders.
Besides the changes to NTUC on the macro level, Mr. Lim also announced changes to NTUC's leadership. Heng Chee Hao, Member of Parliament for Whampoa and Senior Minister of State, Prime Minister's Office, will remain as Deputy Secretary General, while Mr. Singh Han Tong, Member of Parliament for Ang Mo Kio GRC, will continue as Assistant Secretary General. Mr. Ong Yi Kang, who ran in Aljunied during the general election and lost, will be Deputy Secretary General and oversee the youth sector. Mr. Zainuddin Nordin will step down as Mayor of the Singapore Central District and join NTUC full-time in July as Director for the Care and Share Department, which helps needy union members with household expenses during difficult times. Madam Halima Yaakob and Ms. Josephine Teo have left their positions at NTUC as Deputy Secretary General and Assistant Secretary General respectively.